So one of the things that I see is like so common throughout history, and basically it gets worse and worse, it seems, every year. It's the lack of long-term thinking. And that's why I'm talking about it today, but I want to make something clear before I get into it. The difference between long and short-term thinking. Short-term thinking is necessary, like let's say you're focusing on your opponent for the next game, or something, that a project that needs to be done for work immediately. That's when short-term thinking is good. But too many people, when they're doing things, making decisions, they're not thinking long-term, and that's where a lot of mistakes are made. Sometimes, well, I shouldn't say sometimes, most of the time, and I'm guilty of this just like anybody else, we want things right now. That is just the way of life. That's human nature, and I understand it because it's hard. I know when I want something, I want it now. I want it yesterday. The thing is as you make mistakes and as you get older or just more seasoned in what you're doing, you don't have to be older, but as you get more experience and things start to become more clear and you settle down, you're married, you have kids, you have a career, whatever the case may be, then you start to think long term. But if you can start to develop that in your younger years, and you can start to implement that into everything you do in everyday life, you're going to have this much of an advantage over everybody else that's not doing it. And like I said, I know it's difficult, but you have to think, what is my action right now? How could that affect me later on? Because if you don't do that and you just go on like pure gut instinct right away and act without thinking, a lot of the times you make the wrong decision because you're just doing what, for me, this is what Dylan wants, this is what Dylan's going to do. But see, I don't do that anymore. I learned hard lessons too long, and I'm trying to help you to prevent yourself from doing that. Now I have my wife that I look at and I go, okay, I can't do that, or, this could hurt my mom. I did things that hurt my parents. And when you make a mistake and you suffer, all you think about is, oh, this sucks, but you forget to think about the people that really get affected. I did things and my mom and dad would say, are we bad parents? And that crushed, when I thought about that, it crushed me because it had nothing to do with what they did. It was my stupidity. So you have to factor in everything. You can't just think about me, me, me. You have to think about everybody else that cares about you, because they're the ones that get affected worse than you. And when you're sitting there punished or suffering or whatever, and you're thinking, oh, poor me, and then it hits you that you hurt somebody else, then it really sets in. And I want you to all avoid that. So when you're making a decision, when you're doing something, you do have to think short term, but you have to think long term. Who is this going to affect besides me? How could this negatively or positively affect me? What could come of this later? And if you do that, and if you really set your mind to that, and you can have some self-control and develop patience, which is one of the hardest things to develop. I understand that. And because I don't want to come here and make it sound like it's, oh, be patient. If you don't, this and that, that's not it. You have to work at it, and you have to want to do it. It's not going to happen overnight. And some people are more patient than others, yes, but we're all impatient, and I understand that. And I don't ever want to come across like, oh, it's this easy, it's this easy. It's not. But is it doable? Absolutely. Listen, anything is doable, but it starts with you. If you want it bad enough, you will sit there and do what it takes. And if you really want to do this and do that and the next thing, you will start to have a future plan in mind. It's just like, well, I just made $5,000. Let's spend it all. But then what? Then you're right back to square one. You're not thinking, well, maybe I could do something cool with a little bit of this money and then save the rest of it so that I don't, if something happens, or if there's, a problem or an emergency, or I really want something, it's there. It's sitting right there. That's just an example of thinking long term, and going to a job and doing things that you shouldn't be doing, or making mistakes. You're not thinking long term about your future in that company, or kind of, and excuse my language, half-assing your job. If you don't do that, if you really go there and work hard, trust me, somebody's going to see it, and that is for future thinking. It just goes with everything you do. So if I could leave you anything, with this topic, it is just try. think about it and try to implement it into your everyday life and your routine. And I promise you, the more you try, the easier it will become. And the more that you do it and the more you develop a routine with it, it'll just be like anything else. That's why people often ask me, how do you do cardio every single day? And how do you do this and that? And how are you so strict on your diet? Because it's a routine now. I mean, it's just normal for me now. It's not it's always hard, but it's just an everyday thing. It's like drinking water and eating food to me at this point. But you have to develop that routine. And it's a mental routine. It starts up here, and then it becomes a physical action. Mentally first, then the physical action. So I just want to leave you with that. Just really, to improve your life and to improve the chances of success and to leave a lot of failures aside. Think long term. So plenty more to come. Thanks for watching. Signing off.